All right, so welcome back, everybody. Episode 6, Off the Record with k.jachimowicz. Today, I wanted to recap UFC 309 a little bit and possibly talk about some other things too, and dive straight into it. I thought it was a pretty good card last night overall. Think I expected it to be a little more insane, but my expectations are probably completely unrealistic with a lot of things. But yeah, it was wild, unpredictable. It was a roller coaster. It gave us some moments to remember, and there's some insane knockouts. There was a frustrating fight or two, a couple underdogs stealing the show, and Jon Jones, of course, landing a ridiculous finish. And there's a bunch to talk about. And of course, you can't ignore the vibes, like Madison Square Garden, Trump-Elon in the building, Jon Jones get main event at Madison Square Garden. Let's break it down all the way from the top. So, literally. So the first fight was Veronica Hardy versus Eduardo Moura. And round one, Hardy was very light on her feet, just circling around to the Moura's right hand, which was kind of unwise. And Moura caught a attack in the final seconds, but it wasn't enough time to do anything special. Round two, better start from Hardy, but got a little too aggressive, and Moura took advantage by taking her to the canvas for the second time, and became a bad spot for Hardy to be in. And into the third and final round of this fight, Hardy landed a couple of nice check kicks, but walked into Moura's right hand again, and that's been a recurring trend whenever Hardy begins to open up a little. She leaves herself open to the power shots, and she lost in a unanimous decision. That fight went the distance. The next fight in the early prelims was Basile Hefez versus Oban Elliott. This was an interesting fight to me because Basile Hefez I saw knock out, I think, Mickey Gall in his last fight a while ago, and he was kind of scary to watch. I was like, dude, that guy's a beast. And I knew he was gonna come out last night on some just power kind of thing, but he didn't seem to have much of a strategy. It seemed like Oban Elliott was much more composed and in control of himself and able to fend off any type of power attempts that Hefez was attempting to throw his way. And it seemed like it probably got frustrating for Hefez after a while, and I don't know, it just seemed like his strategy just wasn't really existent. And I mean, he didn't have a terrible performance or anything, but I was actually surprised that Oban Elliott was able to get a knockout on Hefez. I thought for sure that was going to be a decision win, lock. And it's just like I say, these MMA fights are roller coasters. Anything that happened in a split second, you never have any idea what the hell is going to go on. But yeah, Elliott just connected with a clean overhead right, dropped Hefez, pounced on him, hammer fist, rained, and the ref just ended the fight, and that was it. And I thought that was an interesting one, personally. But so Mickey Gall versus Rameez Brahamaj. This one I also thought was interesting. I didn't realize Mickey Gall had lost 3 or 4 of his last fights consecutively, and I thought this was a cool underdog win. I thought that was a good win. I thought that was a cool knockout win for the slight underdog to get. First round too, just a minute in or a couple minutes in. That was a good one. I thought that was cool. The next fight the last fight in the early prelims was Marcin Tybura versus Jonata Diniz. Tybura took this one round 2, doctor stoppage. Yeah, that one got pretty vicious too, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so apparently Diniz had a high-profile showdown with Derek Lewis at UFC Edmonton earlier just this month that fell through on weigh-in day due to Lewis's illness. I didn't even realize that got canceled. But So like the downside for Deniz was that Tybura was unlikely to throw hands like Lewis would have, and being well versed in grappling, like he would have likely looked to drag Deniz into deep waters instead. But Tybura opened with a high kick, followed by a harder, higher kick from Deniz, and moments later, Deniz had Tybura rocked on his back. And like even before Deniz could start the third, the doctor took a look and just asked him a few questions, and whatever he heard, he didn't like it. He shook his head and just waved it off. And I remember watching this, and the fighter was so pissed off and annoyed. Like I don't even know if he knew what the hell was going on. But when he went down and took those, it was like some brutal smashing elbows. I remember seeing that. And then he stood up and he was just like concussed. Like, you know what I mean? He couldn't even stand. His legs were wobbling and he was like all pissed off trying to keep the fight going. It's like, no way, dude, you're done. So Tybura got that TKO win, doctor stoppage style. And then to the prelims, David Onama, like I feel like that was a really dominant fight. I mean, I don't even know if there's much to talk about there. Like he got the unanimous decision there. Jim Miller, that was a cool fight to watch. Older guy. Like I think he's in his mid-40s, still going. He's got a lot under his belt in the UFC, and he got that round 1 guillotine submission. That was dope, man. I didn't see that. I wasn't expecting that to happen that quickly. That was impressive. Weidman versus Anders got canceled because Anders fell ill with something. Martinez versus McGee. McGee got that unanimous decision. Ruffy versus Lontop. Ruffy got that unanimous decision also. Then Araujo got the upset on Silva in a unanimous decision, which I wasn't expecting either. And then there was Bo Nickel versus Paul Craig. I thought it was really weird that Bo Nickel was so heavily favored, like minus 1,100 over Paul Craig. I just didn't really feel like that was warranted, and it was obvious that it wasn't because as the fight went on, like those odds significantly shifted more like towards an even or a more even matchup. But Bo Nickel did end up winning by a unanimous decision in that one also. That was a little bit of a frustrating fight to watch, but onto like the real good shit. So this one was also a little frustrating. Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. Charles Oliveira got the unanimous decision in the full 5 rounds on that. That was a crazy ass fight, man. Like it was honestly like a almost replay of like their first fight, just with a little bit different like ending. Yeah, like just the first like 3 rounds was literally just Chandler just like sprinting away from Oliveira because Oliveira's ground game and like, you know, ground control is just insanity. Like Chandler couldn't move on this guy when he would get him down. It was just bad. It was frustrating performance in the beginning, and then Chandler had such a good round 5, came so close to getting the TKO on Oliveira, and just literally just ran out of gas when he only needed like a couple more punches to just end it. And it's just so frustrating to watch that. But a good performance. It was still impressive from Chandler to come back and give that level of grit when you're, you know, getting your ass beat for a few rounds. And, I mean, that was an amazing round 5. A lot of people are arguing Chandler's throwing the back of the head shots. I mean, dude, round 5, you're getting your ass beat. It's like, you kind of got to just throw Hail Marys. Then the main event, man, Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. So Stipe Miocic's a little older also. I think he's like 42. I mean, it's not crazy, but it's older than a guy in his 30s, you know? And I knew Jon Jones was going to take this locked in, guaranteed. But and I knew it was going to be round 3, man. I did a ton of research, deep diving on like how this was going to go. I watched a ton of his old stuff, studied him. And I knew it was going to be round 3, and I was just leaning towards submission. I just thought he was going to like really tire Stipe out and then just like choke him out or something and get it like done with. And I thought Stipe was going to be like a little more resilient, to be honest, and not get like knocked out so easily, or what seemed like so easily to me. I mean, I don't know. Jon Jones makes this shit look real easy. Like that was, he got him with a spinning back kick like to the right under your rib, or like right under your like pec, like right at the top of your ribs. Like, oh man, that the exact area where like his heel hit Stipe, that shit had to have hurt like crazy, bro. Like that would have broken all my bones. But yeah, man, that shit was cool as hell. I didn't realize Jon Jones was like about it with like the Trump life and being down with America, like on that level. Like I didn't know he was religious like that. I thought that was really freaking cool that he like did the Trump dance, gave Trump the belt. That shit had Trump looking cool as hell. Like, and I just thought it was cool, man, that he like went out there and just said like, yeah, I don't care about what anyone's gonna criticize me, whatever. Like, I'm Christian, I support Trump, I love America. I thought that was dope, dude. For Jon Jones, like, just that was cool, man. And so like getting into the post fight of that main event, like, and how crazy is that? You just got like Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, like Donald Trump just front row, like watching this at Madison Square Garden. It's just like wild to me. As he's just won the election, it's freaking crazy, and it just shows you. It's also like just freedom. It's like, dude, like when we had like when we had like Biden as president, or we still do, but you know what I mean, like. It's like you weren't even like allowed to like go out. It's like so stupid. Like it felt like you couldn't even like go do anything with people. And freaking and yeah, so Jon Jones claims he's not retiring. He's still going. He's kind of like pushing aside the Tom Aspinall idea and trying to push for an Alex Pereira matchup next, as I believe Jon Jones probably thinks Tom Aspinall isn't a big enough name or match for him, and he probably believes in his mind that Alex Pereira is a bigger threat, and he probably wants to take out the bigger threat and prove himself on a way bigger scale than just taking out someone he probably believes he can definitely take out. I don't want to speak for him, but... And then there's some interesting drama about this, because like it's like Dana White kind of has an issue here, because Tom Aspinall is aiming to be the next challenger for Jon Jones, and has been, after White promised him he would fight for the championship after winning the interim heavyweight title fight in UFC's previous visit to the Garden in November 23 by knocking out Sergey Pavlovich at the last minute. However, Jones wants to face Alex Pereira, and if that doesn't happen, he could reconsider his decision and opt for retirement. And so, like, Jones was literally quoted last night saying, "Yes, that fight Pereira is what I want, and if it doesn't happen tonight, I'll profess my love for Jesus in front of everyone and tell the world how proud I am to be an American champion and fight in front of our president," Jones said at the post-fight press conference in a message in which he made it clear that it'll be difficult for Dana White to convince him. Quote, "If that was my last fight, I have no problem with that. That was the way to do it, in front of Donald Trump. I think one of the really good things about negotiating is being willing to not come to an agreement." So Jones is really, like, trying to pressure Dana White to, like, you know, put on like the best fight possible. And Dana White's probably sitting there like, I don't want to risk like damaging one of my two like most valuable roster you know, prospects, or whatever you want to call that, like just members of the promotion. And like, and yeah, like Dana literally made a U-turn on it last night after watching Jon Jones dominate, and even said, like, there's no fucking way I'm... Let me find the actual quote. He goes, "No, you know what tonight told me? That there's no fucking way I would make the Jon Jones versus Alex Pereira fight. Jon's too big, a great wrestler. Did you see how he took Stipe down in that first round? I like Alex Pereira. I like him personally, but it just doesn't make sense to make that fight. If they want it bad enough and they're both like fucking hounding me or something, then maybe I would do it." To be honest, I think that is what will probably happen, and I think people would want to see that. I think that would be a crazy fight, man. And I know there's like a weight class difference there. Like Alex Pereira is at 205 right now. What's Jon Jones, like 250? Like, hold up. Yeah, literally, I got that spot on. He's 250. So dude, or I guess last night 238, but I mean probably typically like that kind of range, you know. And yeah, that would be nuts if Jon Jones went down in the weight class or Pereira went up, and that would be such a freaking crazy fight, I feel like. And me personally, I think it makes sense for Jones to want that Pereira fight. Like I said, I think he probably thinks that Aspinall just doesn't have his same level of pedigree in the UFC and just doesn't even want to entertain that fight. That's how it seems to me. Like, people are acting like he's ducking it. I don't think he's like ducking it. I think he just doesn't want to I think he wants to go higher than that. I feel like he thinks he's above that in my eyes. But yeah, man, last night was a real good event. I was happy with that. My bets, man. I wanted to talk about this because I was so close to hitting the Chandler KO. Oh my God, round 5, Chandler was so close to getting that KO, and I wanted to talk about not even just with gambling. I'm not even really much of a gambler. I only bet on fight sports typically ever, and it's once or twice a year type shit. I'm not a big gambler. It's just for fun once in a while for me. But I do like learning from it. I like learning about analyzing sports. I like trying to become an expert on sports and all sorts of things in life. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about how I saw this article recently. I can't remember the CEO of what company he was from, but he was basically just giving this philosophy about how you should fail fast and learn fast. And I agree and adopt with that and relate to that so heavily. And I think it's a genius approach to just about anything in life. And of course, you need to be intelligent in this approach. You don't just throw all the money you got at the wall on something stupid in anything. But it's kind of just also a synonym to just you got to take risks to win in life or get where you want in life and things like that. And just going back to that philosophy, I really agree with that. And I mean, if you think about it, it makes perfect sense. If you want to be great at something, you got to be willing to lose a few times to get to the wins. If you want to be an amazing musician, you got to make a few bad songs before you get to the masterpieces and the hits. If you want to make a great podcast, you got to, rough your way through those tough parts and rough edges and uncomfortable spaces to get to the good times and the good spots. And I just think that's a good life lessons for people predicting on sports, betting on anything, hoping for anything, life philosophy in general, business philosophy, success philosophy. I think it's phenomenal philosophy in general. And I also think a lot of these UFC fighters are phenomenal. I don't know if I want to say role models, because a lot of these guys have their own drama in their life, but I think the way they carry themselves, the way they train, their dedication, the fact that they're willing to practically put their lives on the line, or their health and their well-being just completely on the line for your entertainment, and they take athleticism to a very extreme level that I feel like you just don't really see very often in American sports necessarily. I love American sports. I love the NBA. I watch a little NFL. I mean, I love sports. I love baseball. But those sports don't really bring the same level of extreme mental and physical combination of acuity and almost genius you need, because it's you're in the middle of an octagon with 40,000 people or whatever, cheering, yelling at you, booing you, whatever. It's and you got someone in your face punching you. These are not simple situations, and I think people really underestimate the level of craft and mental, just the art of the mental aspect of being an MMA fighter, and just the sheer confidence and IQ you have to be able to withstand those situations and find ways out of tough spots when you're in tough spots as a martial arts fighter. I mean, It's pretty incredible to me, like what these guys are capable of, and it inspires me. And it's kind of part of what inspired me to go on my own personal fitness journey like a year or two ago or whatever. Like I started watching these guys on the UFC embedded vlogs and just seeing like their daily routines and like the level of affirmations they make and confidence, the way they train, all the extra stuff they do, like the weight cuts, the cold plunges. I mean, I know that's just general public knowledge at this point, but it really inspires me to just like push farther and harder with everything in my life, to be honest, because these guys they're like putting themselves all the way out there. They're just walking in the ring with like freaking boxers on and just fighting someone in every style possible. Wrestling, grappling, like striking. It's just like kicking to the face, like you can choke someone out. It's like it's just a